Hi, welcome back to Box Delights. This evening I wanted to do something a little bit different for you. I've done a Warfighter, the Tactical Special Forces card game, 2nd edition. I've done a video on this already, a playthrough. But what I wanted to do is just try something a little bit different. I'm really prompted by the fact that we've got a Kickstarter. It's just a few days, 3 or 4 days left. And it's going to be the Second World War version of this game with a few things changed up. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about why I like this game and the things that set it apart, I think, from other war games, and why this perhaps isn't fitting that war game genre, and why perhaps non-war gamers might find this kind of game something that's going to appeal more to them. Okay, so there's not the hex and counter type war game. It's not the thing where you're going to have to look up lots of charts and all that kind of stuff. No, it's very much a card game, and that's what sets it apart, really. But there's a few other things about the mechanics, I think, that tie everything together and make this kind of stand out as something very different to what you'll see in other games, and how it handles some of the problems of converting a war game into a card game. And then what I'd like to do is just show you some of the stuff they're doing with the World War II version. One of the things that characterises a board game, or board game, is a sprawling map. Okay, and lots of counters all over the map. There are lots of counters in this game, but they represent ammunition. Okay, we don't have, tokens with some high-level stats that you roll some dice and it affects the battle outcome. It's not that kind of war game. It's very much more akin to what a board game is used to with cards. Okay, and this is very much a squad tactics game. So you start with, if you haven't seen my playthrough, you start with choosing your squad of different soldiers, and all your soldiers come with their own individual statistics. So there's no this is a infantry type unit or a artillery type unit, or this is this guy, and this is what this guy's personal stats are. Okay, and then you've got squads as well, which represent a collection of soldiers. Okay, so they've all got their own little specials. Individual soldiers, these are like player characters. They represent the single person. Then you've got non-player soldiers. These are kind of come ready equipped for you, and then you got your squads. You don't really have any equipment at all, but with your soldiers, like here, this is Brunning, you can then equip them. So part of the game is not just sitting down and enacting the battle or the mission, but it's about equipping your forces. So you'll get a whole ton of weapons. I mean, I've supplemented with expansions, right? So there's all sorts of different types of weapons. Okay, so you're really looking at that low-level detail of the individual things that individual soldiers can carry. Then you've got skills, okay, individual skills that you can train your soldiers with. Okay, do you see? And then once you've got skills and weapons, you've also got equipment that can help you. All right, so you've got your molly and your smoke grenade, a dual mag, GPS. All these things are helping affect what's going on, and it's real low level, small location. The other thing is, instead of having a sprawling map, you've got an action deck, and this action deck kind of represents what the soldiers are doing. You'll have a hand of these cards, and you'll be using these cards, and they're going to give you abilities to act upon the hostiles that you're going to be encountered. But you're also searching locations, and what's neat, and one of the things I like, is that the mechanism for you searching for the way forward to progress your mission is not exploring a map, you're exploring a deck. Okay, so as you're taking time looking through your deck, you're finding different locations. Okay, so instead of these being out on the map, they're just places you found that you recognise you can go to, and if you choose to go that way, you play the card. So it kind of comes up looking like a line of cards, because you can backtrack. But the truth is, it kind of represents a whole wider environment. It's just a neat way of doing it. It's not. You may have 2 locations in your hand, 2 or 3 even. All right, and here I've got 4. So you've got lots of different options on which way you want to run, which way you want to go, which way you want to push forward. So the location you play kind of represents which direction you chose to take. Okay, and it could be that you can, find another shortcut through to the debris field and so on. But the point is that, as far as once you've got through so many locations, it takes you to your mission objective. You fulfilled a mission objective. Yeah, you're rolling dice for sure, and you're comparing them against your stats, but you're mitigating a lot of those dice rolls with your card play, and this is what wargamers will recognise. It doesn't feel like a wargame anymore, okay? And it's got that meta game of kitting out your troops. And there's also a whole host of hostiles to take on in different locations. And what we've got here is a modern day South American jungle, I think, is it? And then different Middle Eastern environments. Okay, so what the World War II version is going to bring you is that that familiar historical setting with the nostalgia that comes with it, but also understanding the realities of what these guys had to deal with at that time. So why don't I come and show you some of the things that Dan Vierson's doing with this new game. The game will be starting you off in locations like Western Europe. You'll be playing the US against the Axis forces, the Germans, putting you all sorts of situations and missions to complete, like perhaps taking a bunker. But as well as having your missions that will determine how many resources you have and what troops you get to deploy, you can also supplement them with situation cards, saying you're on your own, you can't play support cards. These are something that Warfighter introduced in an expansion. Expansions this time are going to let you play as the Germans or the British or even the Russian armies, giving you lots of different variety. You decide who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. Like I say, the base set's going to be the US forces. There's some great characters in here. You're going to really enjoy exploring them, and of course skilling them up, turning them into snipers that'll help you through these hostile locations like villages and towns ready for liberating. And this is where you'll find some rule changes. They've added obstructed and elevated terrain, limiting long-range combat. They've tried to keep the differences to a minimum. For example, in Modern Warfare, taking casualties is pretty rare. In the World War II, it's common, and this changes the whole feeling of the game. Also, the events are more battlefield level, because in World War II, soldiers had to deal with what was in their line of sight. Didn't have the regional connections and awareness that you have in Modern Warfare. And the other thing to look out for is, and this is something that you're not going to perhaps hear about on the Kickstarter, but coming up, Dan's going to look to expand the Warfighter system to both fantasy and sci-fi, and they're all going to be compatible. So if you want to make modern soldiers take World War II in a fantasy setting and see how a LAW rocket will do against a dragon, you can do it with no special rules. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little overview of what's coming in the World War II and what Warfighter is going to be doing for you in future. Check out the Kickstarter. Have fun with the game. Thanks for watching.